I've been reading the stories on the subreddit, and I've enjoyed them, so I thought I would share my own weird story with you guys. It happened in early 2000, when I was working at a juvenile detention center in a small town in Oklahoma as a correction officer. I was working nights at the time and went to work at 9 p.m. This one night, when I arrived at work, my supervisor looked at me confused and asked me what I was doing there. I said, I work tonight. And he said, but they said you called in a few hours ago saying that you were sick. I was a bit confused and said, it must have been someone else, and they got the message wrong. After everyone else showed up for work that night, it was a bit more weird. But we carried on as usual and assigned everyone their places for the night. I went to work in the control room where I usually work. The control room is the center of the prison that has direct control over the cameras, doors, phones, and everything. After I relieved the guard on duty and settled in for the night, I looked at the message that said I called in. It said that I called in at 6:50 and said that I had gotten sick while out cleaning after the storm. There had been a storm the night before and it was a bit bad, but not anything that I had to go out and clean up. It was truly weird. The supervisor came into the control about that time. He was also a friend of mine outside of work, and we started talking about it and how odd it was. I decided to call my wife at home and tell her about it while he was still sitting there. I picked up the phone and dialed. After 2 rings, a man picked up the phone and with a raspy voice said, "Hello?" I did not know what to say for a few seconds. I looked at the phone to make sure I dialed the right number, and I had. After a few seconds, the person said, "Hello?" Again, in the same raspy voice. I said, "Hello? Who is this?" "This is Taylor. Who is this?" the person said. My head started spinning because my name is Taylor. I said in almost a scream, "Where is Anne?" He said, "Anne is in bed. Who is this?" I dropped the phone and told my supervisor to ring me out. I had to get home and took off towards the door. I could hear Dave pick up the phone behind me and say, "Hello," followed soon by, "What the fuck?" rather loudly. I ran to my car and drove home faster than what was legal, my mind racing the entire time. I busted through the door and my wife was sitting on the couch watching TV and was shocked at me being home. I asked her who was there and she said no one has been here. After a rather long talk with my wife, I went to call the prison to tell them what was going on, but the phone was dead. I went back to work and when I came in, Dave was acting weird and asked me, "How the hell are you doing this?" He told me that when I left, he picked up the phone and the person on the other side sounded exactly like me. He kind of freaked out and hung up the phone. A minute later, as he could see my car leaving the parking lot, I had called back from home and asked what the fuck was going on. He said that I was a bit irate and said I was sick and did not feel like playing these games, and was telling him to stop prank calling me and hung up. After convincing him I had no idea what was going on, we went back to work. Later, I found out that the phone line in my area had been knocked down the night before by the storm. This is absolutely the strangest thing that has ever happened to me. Comments. I think I may have an idea on what happened. There was a storm and his phone got cut. In one reality, the guy found out about his phone being out and went outside to fix it. And in the other, he doesn't find out and nothing else has been damaged by the storm that needs fixing, so he doesn't go outside. The version of him that went outside gets sick and calls into work. Because the non-sick version of him didn't step outside to fix his phone, it can't be connected to the phone at his workplace. So the phone network settles for the next best thing, connecting to the phone in the alternate reality where the phone works and the OP is sick. The storm might have something to do with this too. Also, his wife must have gotten sick in the other reality too, as she is in bed in the sick reality, but not in this one, and the weirdness ensues. I saw a quote from Dr. Courtney Brown from the Farsight Institute on a remote viewing page on Facebook today. Here's his quote, which may be relevant here. A friend asked me to explain our climate project in terms of multiple realities, and this is what I told him. The television picture looks real, and a primitive person would really think it is, and that there is something inside the TV. My son's parakeet looks into a mirror all day thinking that he is seeing another parakeet. The sound from your radio sounds real, and a primitive would try to break into it in order to find the small people living inside. But all of it is just frequencies. Our real-looking physical bodies and everything else is just a very persuasive 3D projection. Nothing is solid, and no physicist has ever found anything that is solid. There are only frequencies that interact. Thus, all realities can coexist simultaneously, since it is just a matter of frequencies being in sync. There is no one reality. You are experiencing only what you are compatible with on the level of frequency. There are other versions of you who are compatible with other frequencies, and you cannot see those other versions or what they are seeing. In our version of reality, the meteors shown in our climate project did not hit the Earth. In other versions, they did. If we had technology that allowed us to see other versions, you could have watched the other versions deal with all of that. That is why it is impossible to make a deterministic single prediction of the future. Such a single future does not exist. Our current moment of the now branches off into a variety of futures. There is no single one, ever. A similar thing happened to me. I showed up at work for my afternoon shift. The working supervisor had this "the fuck bruh" look on her face. Then she says, "I thought you weren't coming in today." This totally confused me, and at first I thought I might have read the schedule wrong. She then asks me, "Why did you call in sick?" Now I'm extremely confused and ask her, "What are you talking about?" Then she tells me I called in a few hours prior saying I was sick. So I tell her I was eating lunch at the mall and wandered around for a bit before coming in. "You probably got me confused with one of the other guys, dummy." And I start to laugh at her. She then grabs the phone and shows me the caller ID. It's my number. I figure I probably pocket dialed, so I check my phone. No calls made all day. Forever lone style. I show her my phone and suggest that the phone probably glitched out or something. Then I ask her, "Who else could it have been that you talked to?" She then tells me that she didn't talk to me. I left a voicemail. She plays me the voicemail. The timestamp and number the call was made from coincides with the caller ID she showed me. Then the message started, and the voice on the phone was mine.